how beautiful the landscape was. Like, we flew in right over 3 volcanoes, which was pretty cool.
My first impression of Guatemala was flying over the city and realizing how different it was than home, and how just homes were stacked on top of one another, and that they were just built with everything, and it was, I just knew that it was different than what home was like.
The landscape was beautiful.
Coming in on the airplane was just mind-blowing to me. I just couldn't get over what all I was seeing outside of the window. Flying into several other countries that I've been to before, it's just nothing like Guatemala. It's so mountainous, and it was just taking my breath away. It was beautiful.
It was very mountainous, my first impression, when we were going in on the plane. I just saw so many mountains. We ended up being at 8,000 feet altitude. But once we got into Pacaya, I saw really just a lot of poorness, very poor conditions.
It's such a beautiful country, and the people there, it amazed me how joyful and how kind they are and how welcoming they are.
The people. I think I always go into another country seeking out what people are like and trying to figure out the heart of people.
There was a ton of people. I guess from all the pictures that I looked up and saw on the Clubhouse's website, it was all in the villages, and so I didn't actually see Guatemala City and how populated it was and all the people that were there.
First impression on the flight in and the drive on the bus to Pacaya was just the masses of people. So many people in such a small area, and man, just think how many of those people know Jesus. It just kind of weighs on your heart as we were going to Pacaya.
First impression of camp was, oh, this is going to be fun.
I would say through the kids, just always showing me that there is no border when it comes to love and laughter. There may be separation because we can't always speak the same language, but definitely there's no border when it comes to love and laughter, and that just always is amazing to me.
Working with 400 kids in a VBS, God was everywhere and very, very present.
Through the smiles of the kids at Bible school, through the tears of the mom that I got to spend some time with, and seeing how she is now moving forward and is going to help others with the suffering that she's gone through. That's all God, because without him we would all just kind of stay in that pain. But seeing her move on from her son's death and want to help others through the same situations.
Well, I went on the trip with the expectation of I was not going to get attached to anybody. I was going stone-hearted. I was going to do a job. I was going to be compassionate, but I was still going to do a job. And by Tuesday, God had taken that and turned it around and thrown it in my face. And the rest of the week was much more enjoyable, because I was able to allow God to use me and to hear their stories and just have compassion for his people.
I saw God move through the people, just through their joy. I saw God move through the interns. I mean, the faith of the interns there at the camp, and JD, and just everywhere I looked, really, I could see him moving.
I saw him move through our group. You could tell the difference from the first day when we got there until the end. Our whole demeanor changed. Even just working on the house that we were building, we were working with a purpose. We knew why we were building it and who we were building it for, and for the family.
I saw God work through his people in Pacaya. It's encouraging to know that even as we were going on missions, we weren't bringing anything new to the table, but it was cool to see God already at work through his people, and that we're reaching their community and using what they had to build the kingdom, and so it was. I just saw God work through His people that were already there.
We were at the camp one night, and there was a kid who had been, I think he was 8 months old, and he had been running 102 fever since we got there, and the week prior to that. And we prayed over him the first day we got there, and nothing changed. It stayed the same. In fact, it got worse. And so we collected money for him and sent him to a hospital, but he came back with just like this ridiculous evaluation from a doctor of dehydration. But
the night we were playing cards, and one of the babies that we met that was sick they came rushing in, and we were all goofing off, and it got serious really quick. And I just remember, like, we got sent to our rooms and just praying and kind of asking for God's immediate intervention.
Me and 2 other people from the group sat out and prayed, and I was just praying some bold prayers like, God, his temperature needs to be 99, and I don't know where that number came from other than just like, it sounded like a feasible number for me. Like 99 is a good number. Like, we're in a safe area for 99, and I was just praying some bold prayers and demanding and declaring from God. And
whenever you come to God in a prayer, in a desperate prayer, and you just start declaring His name, the amazingness that God can do.
One of the interns came out and said that they took the temperature again and it was at 99, and I was like, God.
And then after they prayed, they took the temperature again and it was 99. I feel like that's something that I will definitely never forget. I felt like it was a miracle that we witnessed.
So I think just in those moments of like seeing the power of God work through someone simple, and just watching the powerful moment of prayer working through us when He doesn't need us, I think that was just a moment that you don't forget. I don't think you will. I don't think anybody on the trip will forget that moment.
Even though there's nothing that we did, it was all God, but just coming to Him and just opening up your heart to prayer was just amazing.
It definitely grew, for sure.
I would definitely say it grew.
Definitely grew.
My faith absolutely grew. Seeing those people, the conditions they live in, the struggles from day to day, and then seeing the absolute joy on their face. Even church service on Sunday, it was hot, we were sweating, but they had pure joy in their hearts.
I would say my faith grew.
I felt like my faith grew a ton. It's always good to get a different perspective from another culture and community, and when you go over there and you see what they have and what they don't have and what they deal with on a daily basis, and the level of faith that they have in God despite the hardships and the losses that a lot of them have, it definitely is very powerful, and I think it grew my faith a lot, and knowing that I don't struggle with these things, or I don't have these same problems, and my faith is so small despite not having that stuff happen to me.
Man, it grew. Flat out grew.
It grow. Obviously, we were challenged beyond our physical limits and our emotional limits and our spiritual limits, and of course that always makes you grow.
Definitely grew.
It definitely grew. I was in a hard place spiritually and emotionally when I went into this trip, and I think for me it was just like a closing of a door from a spiritual journey I'd walked through in the past year, and it just opened up another door to journey into.
On Thursday, whenever it was like pouring down rain and we went and we were talking to the family and just praying over them, I thought that was really cool.
One moment that I'll never forget was on the last day in Pacaya. and we were going back to the house after leaving Vacation Bible School, and I was emotional wreck. I was pathetic. I tote pants, like, for real. And I remember in this moment that I heard Yash Uno. Hola, Hey, hola, hola, mi amigo. And it was Jonathan, and he was at his home, and he came with us to the house and spent the afternoon with us. And I think it was God knowing that I wasn't ready to say goodbye yet, so he gave me those precious few moments.
I think the last day walking through the gates at Bible school of the school, and all the kids were just so excited to see us, and we kind of made little relationships with them, and so it was just a really special moment to see the joy on their faces, and there was sadness in our hearts because we realized it was our last time with them, and that was just a really special moment for me.
It would have to be the moment that Beatrice brought Griezmann back to the camp late that night, and the actual product of prayer, seeing it happen, seeing a miracle being done, and the fact that the rest of that week, to our knowledge, the baby never ran fever again, and seemed to be back to his old self.
Probably when Edgar shared some of his candy with me when on the last day there while we were building.
Probably how happy the family was that when they saw how much work we had done on their house, and when the mom brought the picture of her son that had passed away and brought that out to us when we were saying our goodbyes. Probably that moment.
One moment that I'll never forget is when we were leaving kind of our last day of ministry in Pacaya, and we were having a prayer time and a dedication time with the people whose house we were building, and just that time that we could share with them and pray with them is something that I won't forget.
Saying goodbye to the kids at VBS is definitely always hard on my heart because I love kids so much, and having my heart just dropped off in different places around the world is always hard.
Absolutely, tonight.
I would go back. I don't know if the fact that God was saying home was like a word over and over for me again. I don't know if that has any significance in my life, but
Anytime. Just tell me when.
Yes, I'm ready. Can I go now? Give me a plane ticket, I'm ready.
Yeah, right now.
Definitely, I would go right now.
Sure, absolutely.
Absolutely. We're already planning as a family when we might be able to go back.
Absolutely.
Today?
It's really helped me see God in a different way. You know, going there and seeing the joy that people have for Jesus going into their church, it's like their church is not much bigger than my bedroom, and they have a piece of crap sound system and their projector onto the screen. You can't hardly see it. They don't have any instruments and music and all that, and they still give God their all and their worship, and the guys that were preaching. And we come here in our air-conditioned church and buildings, and we sing a few songs and then preach, and then people get mad if the preacher goes over 20 minutes and they're late to get in their favorite lunch spot. And so just seeing what God does through other people in another part of the world compared to what we call worshiping God and all that.
I mean, it just opens our eyes to how God works in the rest of the world. We get so caught up in material things here and this beautiful church building, and it's good to go somewhere where people have nothing but faith, and it's good to experience that kind of faith without materialism. And they have nothing but their families and but God, and they're joyful in that, and they're trusting in that, and it stretches us to realize that we don't need as much as we have, that we don't need anywhere near what we have. And I guess that's has changed me, in that I look around at my house and it puts in perspective, I guess, that I don't need a new car, I don't need a new house, I don't need all the new things. I would rather give up some of those things so that others can have a little bit more.
I think this trip was I've said this in the past comments, but I think it just closed a chapter that I really struggled through, and trying to figure out like where I fit into the mix that God had for me. And as difficult as it was to walk through this past year of this spiritual journey, I feel like going into Guatemala and experiencing how God moved in my life, and just like the things that He revealed to me, I think that was something that really had a shift in the way that I thought, in the way that I do things. And I think going forward, it adds a lot of new perspectives to my life and my ministry as a Christian, and even like in our church family and in my friendships.
This has changed my life in a lot of ways, and just seeing God move and understanding that this world is so much bigger than where I live, and that the things that I thought would always hold me back won't hold me back whenever you're in God's will. And just understanding that God has a bigger picture, and where does that lead to? I don't know, but I'm excited about the future and where God is going to be leading.
It's made me see God in new ways that I haven't been able to see Him before.
I think it pushed me to get closer to God, seeing how close and how much faith that they had. I don't see any reason why we shouldn't be the same way, despite not going through what they go through. I want to be able to experience God here like we did there, and I think that that's something that I brought back with me, and I hope will cause change in my life.
I don't know. Actually, I do know. I can't ever put it into words. Being able to put all your emotions and your thoughts into words is pretty impossible, especially for me. But God definitely taught me a lot about just the way that He loves us and the way that He cares for us. And He really taught me just the simplicity of joy, and that our joy is in Him alone, and that's all we need. And He also taught me a lot about just being open and saying yes to the things that He brings us, to the opportunities that He brings us to. So I was able to say yes to an opportunity while I was there, and I thought that it was going to go one way, but just because I said yes to God, He opened a different door and taught me a lot through that.
That's hard to quantify. It's hard to put in words. You just know that whenever you spend time doing missions, involving yourself in the Great Commission, your mindset just completely changes. It's something that's hard to be taught, but once you experience it, it just changes your mindset and your worldview.
Well, it's put things into perspective, really. From I was thinking a lot of the poor people here had it bad, but yet I went there and it was a whole new type of low, but yet they were just so happy through it all. And how someone could be so happy with so little was really amazing to me. The faith of the people there who did believe seemed just so great compared to some of the people here.
That's interesting, because I feel like there's a part of me that is still there. I don't seem to worry about the small stuff like I used to, because no matter what we go through here in our comfortable place we call home, I know there are people 1,300 plus miles away that struggle every day, often. The people of Pacaya will forever be in my heart, and a piece of me will forever be in Pacaya.
I want to thank Josh Nichols for recording this trip and being our trip historian. He is awesome.
Thank you.
Your life is your ministry. Live it out!